Hello and welcome to Ocusell List Plus. In today's video, you're going to get an A to Z on how you can use Ocusell List Plus, whether you're an agent, an admin, transaction coordinator, all the alike. In order to access your Ocusell account, if you're a member of FMLS, you can use the FMLS tile within their dashboard to get to Ocusell, or you can simply log into Ocusell.ai with your email address and password. For those that need to verify their credentials through FMLS and in Georgia, once you log directly into your account for the first time, you're going to go to the My Account page, which is located in the bottom left-hand corner. You click on your name and hit Settings. Here you can customize your account, but ultimately you can click Connections here to verify those credentials. You should see your member records below, and those are good to be there. However, for credentials, we want to make sure that we're adding those accordingly. So for FMLS, we can select that box. We can choose FMLS and our username for our member record. Our password for FMLS is not going to be our login password. Rather, it's FMLS's third-party password that you can find in FMLS's website if you navigate to your My Account page and then click Retrieve Third-Party Password. It's going to be the top header there. Very easy to grab. Apply that to the password section and hit Submit. When verifying for Georgia, again, you're going to put in your username in all capital letters, just like for FMLS, and your password is going to be whatever your login password is for Georgia. Enter that, hit Submit, and you should be ready to go. Once your credentials are verified for FMLS in Georgia, you can begin listing to both as destinations. So if I go back to my listings page now, once my credentials have already been verified, you can see that I have some listings under pre-market, a couple under on-market, and then 0 under off-market. Our pre-market listings are going to be any of those listings that have yet to be published and gone live to one or more MLSs. So these are still on my workbench being prepared. I'm either waiting on certain key details, maybe photography, or just maybe waiting for that go live date. Any listing found in the on-market stage is considered active on one or more MLSs. And you can hover over each one of the MLS descriptions here and get a reference point or an MLS ID that you can do, other things with. How to create a new listing in Ocusell. So if we want to create a listing from scratch, all we need to do is click the Add Listing button in the top right. There's a couple different ways that we can introduce a listing to Ocusell through Ocusell List Plus. One is I can create a new listing from scratch. This will auto-populate from public records. So not really starting from scratch, but you are starting a new transaction. I can also clone an off-market listing from the MLS. So maybe a listing that I had back in 2020, right? If that's coming back on market, I have the ability, since I've owned that listing before, to clone that listing into Ocusell. 90% of that listing detail will come over, and it'll leave me about 10% remaining where I have to fill out the list price and some of the key dates for that new listing. And then lastly here, I can import active listings from the MLS. So let's say today is the first day I'm using Ocusell. Well, I have 10 listings already on FMLS in Georgia. I can import those in order to then manage them in one spot, being Ocusell. Okay. So let's go ahead and create a new listing today. And the first thing you'll see here is a prompt to add an address. I'll choose 26 Clarendon Avenue. And me being an admin, I can choose which agent I'm listing on behalf of. So I can see in that dropdown all of my agents. I choose Patrick, and now I can list to both FMLS and Georgia if I want. So I'll choose both of those destinations, as I do want to list to both. I'll select which type of property it is. This is important because ultimately when we choose what type of property it is, this is how we're going to digitally create or dynamically create the digital form, okay? So when I click Submit, it's going to create a digital residential single-family input sheet for me. At the same time, it's querying 65 plus databases to pull in as much public record as possible for this listing. So see here, 69 fields are auto-populating. here are all the different sections where those fields are going to populate, and we can go view this listing. Once you're in the listing, you can see that I can scroll down and immediately start adding data points for the listing, okay? But a couple things to point out before we start filling anything out. Over here on the left, there's a little stepper that lets you know which sections are still outstanding and which sections have been complete. So as you complete each section, they will get a green and white check mark there, letting you know that each section is done and you're good to publish. So keep an eye on the left-hand side, make sure I'm doing a good job. As I scroll down, I'm looking for any of the asterisks that are required fields. Okay, that's going to help me identify what does need to be filled out. Right, left, right. And notice that immediately that property section is marked done. So that was the last and only section or only data point for property that was remaining before it was marked complete. Okay, so let's keep scrolling. I can add a purchase price and statuses and dates. Here's a great example of how we handle different values from multiple MLSs if we are listing to multiple MLSs. So notice here for FMLS in Georgia, we see coming soon as a common value. So therefore we apply a check mark next to both. However, FMLS calls new active. Georgia calls new. So I want to bounce between them to make sure I'm identifying each of the appropriate values for the MLS, and having them displayed there lets me know that I've satisfied each of those requirements. If I then apply a list contract date, which is actually the list date, not to be confused with the date that it was signed on, this is going to be the date that you're effectively publishing to the MLS, whether it's coming soon or active. We want to make sure that it's today's date or the day I'm clicking publish, okay? Our on market today or on market date is going to be today, and expiration will put it in the future. Scroll down, applying any of the required fields here. Super easy and quick for me to go from each one of these values as I'm familiar with what the values are on the MLS, and we simply mimic those same exact values in all of these drop-down menus, so nothing should be new here. Addressing each one of the lock boxes, any considerations, my name, oh Patrick, no, let's fix that. Excellent. And I'm making sure to address each of the values if I want to make sure they're going to both MLSs. Here next is our media and document section. So this is a kind of a pain point for most agents who are listing to multiple MLSs or even a singular MLS. Managing these photos can be very time consuming, okay? So watch how easy it is in Ocusell to manage these photos now. Grab a large chunk of them. Once these are uploaded, I'll be able to move them around and put them in whatever walkthrough order I want, okay? Super easy to navigate these. As you shuffle them, they move up, down, depending on where you're moving them, okay? We do have some AI components here that are going to help you get to the finish line a little bit quicker. So you can click reorder with AI. This is going to do a great job of lumping all the rooms together. Maybe not put it in the perfect walkthrough order that you wish, but ultimately help you get further down the road. We do have an integration with Recipe AI here that I can click, and this is going to scan each one of the photos and populate more fields for me based off the RESO data dictionary. So just by uploading these photos, it's identifying several different appliances, some community features, flooring, and heating. I can go ahead and click populate those fields, and that saves me several clicks, right? It auto-populates them. I could go back down. I can add any of my supporting documents to Georgia. So just by simply clicking here, I can upload those documents there. For FMLS, we still need to upload those documents to Remind Docs Plus and have those uploaded directly. Okay. As I scroll down, we have our public remarks, which again, I can generate with AI. I click that button and within 5 to 10 seconds have a nice compelling public remark. Like any AI, I would recommend reading this to make sure it's exactly the way that you would sound when describing this property. If you need to make any changes, simply make those changes by editing this field, add in your own buzzwords, take out anything you wouldn't say. I can keep scrolling down, filling out more information. A couple fields here that I want to call out, such as allow internet display. Allow internet display means as we send this to the MLSs are what sends those third-party listings to Zillow, Homes, Realtor.com, all the above. We want to make sure if we want that syndication to happen, that we choose yes. By choosing no, we will stop that syndication from happening, as we only publish to MLSs, and then the MLSs then do all the syndication. But checking no will stop that syndication from happening. So want to make sure that we apply yes if we want those syndications to happen. We have the ability to add any of our URLs, whether they're branded or unbranded. Some of our tax information here already populated, but again, we want to make sure to address any of the fields that are still outstanding. Excellent. Now, to speed up the process, I'm going to go ahead and go into an already filled out listing and show you what it looks like when we go to publish again. So in this case, we have a listing that's already live. You can see that there's reference points to the MLS IDs and all that good stuff there. Maybe we need to make some changes to the listing, such as the expiration date, right? We may be pushing this out a little bit further into the future. So we may extend that by 30 days. And then we can go ahead and click proceed to publish and push those changes out to both of the MLSs. So here's our proceed to publish page, where you as the user get an opportunity to verify all the information that you want to send to the MLS is correct. So here I can thumb through the photos one last time. I can see some of my snapshot information is correct. And here's my public remark. If I made any changes, I would reread these, make sure it's correct. But then ultimately, I can then publish those changes to both MLSs at the same exact time. Okay. All right. Now that that listing is published, there may be some other things that you want to do to these listings, such as change the status. So let's say our property here is going under contract. Well, let's follow the change status workflow. So we can click the three dots located on the listing. We can click change status, and this is going to follow the same format as the form itself. So we'll choose the values for FMLS. We'll choose the corresponding value for Georgia. We'll select next. Then I'll be prompted to fill out any of the additional fields that are required, right? So I can put in who the buying agent's name is. I got Kurt. I can fill out all the contingency periods, the proposed close dates, all that good stuff, and click submit and update that status both on FMLS and in Georgia. A couple other things that could come in handy with List Plus is the ability to create printable PDFs. So not all agents are possibly going to be willing to log in and do the digital form because they're so used to filling out a paper PDF. Well, here we've made that available as well. So as an agent or an admin, you can generate this for an agent if you want. There is a printable form button here in the top right-hand corner. If I choose this, again, this follows the same format of creating a listing, where I can choose the both MLSs, choose what type of property we're doing. So let's say we're doing a commercial mixed use today. I can click submit,